Out of Order Gun Rights Podcast, episode 104.
Welcome to the Out of Order Podcast, your window into the firearms community, exploring those shaping the future of our rights and protecting our lifestyle, laws, legal cases, activism, and self-defense in a candid and honest podcast for our brothers and sisters in arms. Here's your host, James Kalita.
Thanks for tuning in to episode 104 of the Out of Order Gun Rights Podcast. Show notes page for today's episode is outoforderjameskalita.com/104. And today's sponsor is Gift for Gun Nuts, giftforgunnuts.com, where you get great gift ideas for the hunting and shooting enthusiast on your holiday shopping list. Every day from now until Christmas, head over to giftforgunnuts.com. New format, and we are also giving away a Henry rifle. So you find that either go to the giftforgunnuts.com page, you'll see a link there on any of the entries, or go to outoforderjameskalita/win, and you can enter for a chance to get that free Henry rifle. And we're going to do a live stream event on Cyber Monday. So Cyber Monday, if y'all if you're signed up on the email list, either the Out of Order email list or the Gift for Gun Nuts email list, you'll get a notification that we're going live. We're going to be live from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to have some really great manufacturers on there talking about their Cyber Monday promotions and and we're going to have some giveaways, right? We're giving away that Henry rifle on December 23rd, but we're going to have 20 to 30 different giveaways on Cyber Monday. So be sure to look out for the link to that Go Live event. And if we get kicked off Facebook, which is predictable, I'll probably do something with Zoom or something else like that. But Out of Order James Kalita /win for a chance to win that Henry rifle, and giftforgunnuts.com for daily gift ideas for the hunting and shooting enthusiast on your holiday shopping list. Got a whole bunch of people already signed up for that, so look for the email notifications. All right, today's guest is Rachel Malone. Rachel is the representative from Gun Owners America in Texas. She's also a host on the Polite Society podcast. And now, here's Rachel. Rachel Malone, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Oh, great. So you're the state director from Texas for Gun Owners of America. Would you tell us a little about that?
I am. So Gun Owners of America has been around since the 70s, working on, it's the no compromise gun lobby. And they've been based in D.C., based on congressional lobbying, while still having a big interest and trying to track with all the states. And I am super excited to be the first boots on the ground working here in Texas with the Texas legislature for GOA. So we're working on things like constitutional carry and getting rid of gun-free zones and all the stuff that we believe is common sense and Texas should be doing already. So that's what I'm working on here.
Oh, wow, that's great. And sometimes, I grew up in not very gun-friendly states, so it's hard to imagine sometimes what there might be left to do in Texas. But constitutional carry sounds wonderful. And,
yeah, well, so what state did you grow up in?
New Jersey.
New Jersey, okay, yeah. So, yes, Texas is ahead of New Jersey, but Texas does not deserve its pro-gun reputation. I mean, everybody thinks of it as this great, gun-friendly spot. And, yeah, we had the Alamo, and we had the Come and Take It flag, and we had all those great heroes. But honestly, now our carry laws are not cool. We were the 45th state to get licensed open carry. So we were lumped in with, a group of 6 states, including New York, California, Illinois, New Jersey, etc., that just didn't have open carry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. You and so now you need a permit to open carry. It's not.
Correct.
That's not part. Oh wow. All right.
Yeah. So there are like 31 states where you can do unlicensed open carry. Texas is not among those 31. Like Texas is so far behind. It's pathetic.
So a lot of times I find that the origins of gun control laws were based on racism and Jim Crow laws. Was it the same in Texas?
Absolutely. Yeah. There was a handgun ban passed like 1869, 1870, and that's still on the books. Like that's why we have to have a license to carry our guns, because there's just that outright ban with very few exceptions now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, have you seen some of the, I mean, I'm sure you've done the research and looked at it. There was one court case I remember reading, I think it was from Florida, where the judge, I think don't quote me on all the details, but it was something like the beginning of the 1900s, and there was a white guy who was caught with a handgun somewhere where it was against the law. And he was actually acquitted, and the judge wrote, like, this is why. It was because the judge literally wrote that law was never intended to be applied to white people. Like, can you believe that?
Wow.
Can you
I
even
have to
believe
find
that?
that. No, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's horrible. Yeah.
That is, I'm going to have to find that case and, yeah, tell the whole world about it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so getting rid of gun-free zones, are you thinking mostly schools, or are you guys trying to like prevent businesses from banning gun owners, or what's the goal there?
So the goal is to get rid of the government mandated gun-free zone. So it's not the government's business to decree that people cannot carry a gun in a certain place, particularly if it's a privately owned business. By the same token, so as much as I believe in gun rights, I believe in property rights very, very strongly. And so I believe it's absolutely a private property owner's rights to ban guns on their property. I think that's a stupid decision, but I think they have the right to make that stupid decision, and the government shouldn't, prevent them from banning guns. But the government should not, come in and say, well, nobody can carry guns in this place, whether it's, a government place or a privately owned business. So that would be what we're trying to get rid of.
Gotcha. And I read that you do run and shoot biathlons, and that was the first I had heard of those.
I do. So it's kind of a Texas thing. It started in Texas. It's kind of spreading. So the idea is, so it started like 17 or 18 years ago by some guys who observed probably an IPSC or IDPA match, and they're like, okay, fine. So you can shoot that stage really well when you carry your stuff around in a wagon. But what would it be like if you had to, run a couple miles, you're carrying all your gear with you, then how could you shoot? So they set it up, and they went out in the desert, and somebody had this private property that was like, 60 miles from the nearest paved road or something ridiculous like that. And they set it up, and, the runners would just go out, 5-minute increments and go out on the trail, and they'd have 7 or 8 miles in the desert all alone. Nobody can help you. Nobody can give you water. Nobody can give you, help you with gear or give you extra ammo if you run out. And throughout the course, you'll come across shooting stations with ROs, and they'll give you the course of fire, and you shoot it. And it's a ton of fun. And it's a really great real-life test of where your skills are at.
Yeah, that does. I thought about like creating sort of like an obstacle course where you ran with guns, and everyone looked at me like I was crazy. Understandably,
Not crazy.
Where it's a safe direction and all, but yeah, if you can get 60 miles away from a road, that would that would do it. Yeah, wow, that's amazing. And and I saw biathlon, and I originally thought skiing, and then I'm like, okay, but yeah.
It's a run and gun. So running and gunning, running and shooting are the two sports. But everybody's like, oh, I couldn't do that. I never run. Well, guess what? I don't run either. For the first, 10 or 15, I'd run for like the first 50 yards out of the gate, and then I'd walk the whole entire rest of the way. You don't have to run. You can shuffle along at whatever pace you want. And you can, as long as you keep moving at a decent rate, and as long as you shoot really well, you can actually come out scoring decently just walking.
Excellent. Yeah. Now I have another reason to come to Texas.
All the reasons.
Okay. So what inspired you to become involved with the firearms right movement?
So I'm going to answer that question 2 parts, because first, what inspired me to become involved in firearms, and then the gun rights, the political side of it. They're kind of interrelated. So I was raised conservative. I was not anti-gun, but when I was 23, my brother, who was a couple years younger, told me he was going to get his license to carry for his 21st birthday, and I flipped out because my whole entire concept of guns, which was probably pieced together from a few terribly inaccurate media stories, was that guns randomly went off. And I didn't want that happening to my brother. I didn't want him carrying a gun when it randomly went off, because I was sure that carrying a gun was just, going to lead to his death or serious injury. And he challenged me to go look up the facts, and I did. And I came back with the question of, okay, where do I get my license? And the interesting thing is, I was still terrified of guns when I started carrying. Is I basically went to a class right away, got my license, and started carrying like the next day. I was so convinced that I was in danger if I was not carrying. Like, I was safer carrying. I was still terrified of guns, but I was more terrified not to carry just because of the facts. So that was 9 years ago. And then a couple years after that, that was 2011, the licensed open carry bill was up in the legislature. And I just figured all those political people and the NRA people, all of them would just make sure it passed. And they didn't. And so that's when I vowed I was just going to come and make the thing pass, because I was mad at I was mad at the injustice. Not that people didn't vote for it, but it was tied up in a committee, and it didn't even get out of the committee for a vote because one person decided to hold it up. And I was just outraged at the injustice and decided I was going to, put the spotlight on that, and we were going to have people show up and we were going to make the thing pass. And it took a couple years, but we did.
Wow, excellent. So, looking back, as I'm always trying to learn more about how I can help people who are either on the fence or on the anti-gun side move to the pro-gun side. If it hadn't been for your brother, do you think you ever would have found firearms?
Likely not. I think about that a lot. I don't know. Would I have met other friends, and was it just inevitable that was just bound to happen? It was just waiting for the person, the next person to come along and talk about guns. I don't know. But I'm trying to think of all other people in my life who did guns, and it was my brother who brought them in. Like, that was how I was connected to them. So yeah, I think it's very likely. I could see another scenario where I went to music school on the East Coast at some conservatory, and I was, a classical musician who, didn't know anything about guns. Like, that scenario could have very well happened in my life.
And you mentioned, he challenged you to find facts, and I think when a lot of people go out there, and I think if you just Google guns, and you're bombarded with a lot of misinformation. How did you avoid it, and how did you get to the truth?
Yeah, so because I was searching very specifically for any facts that I could find to show that carrying a gun was dangerous, I think I am even more convinced than I otherwise might be. Like, I wasn't going to try to prove why people should carry guns, and then I found that, like, where I could wonder if it was confirmation bias. I was literally trying to prove the opposite, and I just couldn't find anything. And granted, I think logically. I wanted to find the actual completely proven facts, or at least enough, this overwhelming list of anecdotes where, it happened so many times. And I remember, I had in my head a couple of news stories I thought I'd read about, they were cleaning the gun and it went off. And I looked up every single one of those stories, and wouldn't you know it, there was a correction printed later that said, oh, actually, the person lied, and they weren't just, the gun wasn't sitting there when it off. They pulled the trigger, and that's what caused the gun to go off. So I didn't want to cheat. Like, I wanted to find the actual facts. But one of the images that still sticks in my head is reading through one of Kathy Jackson's website pages from Cornered Cat. And if you've never looked at that, it's a great website. It's been up for a long time. It has such good information. And I just remember reading through her describing how a gun works and what you, like, all the parts of the gun and what you have to do to make the gun go off. Because in my head, it was just like this random explosion. Push a button and it explodes. And I realized, no, it's not. Like, there's a round which is made up of a lot of components. It's, it has real things in it. It's not some magic potion. And then you put those into a magazine. You put the magazine into the handgun. You have to rack the slide. That was huge. I was like, oh, you have to actually do something to put the bullet where it will go off. And it takes a lot of effort, and you're not going to just accidentally do it. And then you pull the trigger. Like, all of those things together were, Like, as simple and stupid as that might seem for somebody who's grown up around guns, I did it. And like that alone was life-changing for me, just reading through it. And so one of the takeaways that I get from that, it's so many times when I see new shooters at the range, and the stereotypical thing is, the guy takes his girlfriend out to the range to show her the guns, and he wants to make sure she has a good time, and so he does everything for her. He loads up the gun and he hands it to her, and he's like, "Here you go. All you have to do is pull the trigger, but careful, it kicks a lot." That's the worst thing that you could do. Like the absolute worst thing that you could do, because you just told her that it's like this. Basically, what she's going to get from that is it's this magic potion or, something that's going to go off. Be careful. Instead of letting her put the pieces together and see how it functions and see that it's a mechanical tool, which is just so much better.
Oh, that is an excellent perspective, because I do see people do that, and
Right?
and it's all about having fun and making it an enjoyable experience, but then they walk away thinking that there's nothing to it.
Yeah, or they're scared of it because they don't understand how it works, or they they didn't get anything out of it. They still are clueless about guns because all they know is it's still something that I need somebody else to take care of this for me. I can't, there's no empowerment if it's somebody else who's putting it all together for you. There's so much empowerment in being able to take apart your own gun and put it back together and know how it works and know the pieces of it. Like, that is just the most empowering thing to me.
And you're also a contributor on the Polite Society podcast. Would you like to tell us a little about that?
I would. So, Polite Society podcast is a really wonderful combination of guns and politics. It's a group of us all around the country. I'm the Texan. We have a Louisianan who came from California. We've got North Carolina. We have South Dakota, and others. Like, we're all over the United States, and we get together and we talk about the news. So different items that have come up in the news, and because it's a podcast, we record and release it. We're not giving the news. We're more discussing it. Okay, this happened. Everybody heard about this. What are the implications? What does this mean? Let's discuss what we think and where this is going. And then we have interviews with people, such as interviews like this. And then we talk about defensive gun use, like all the ways that people have actually used a gun to defend their lives, whether they shot it or not.
Oh, great. And let's see, I always ask my guests if there are books that they recommend that every gun owner should read, either about firearms or politics, or any come to mind?
Honestly, like, I knew you were going to ask that question. I don't really. I read books, but nothing came to mind. But the thing that I wanted to tell everybody to do is go get on your state's legislative website and learn to use it and learn to read the bills. Like, don't just go read a book about it. Like, read the actual legislation and see what your state is considering. Like, there's again so much empowerment in seeing that process, and that can help you so much to be informed and to help advance gun rights where you are.
Great. Yeah, and that's true. I remember being surprised when I started paying attention to New Jersey and how different it was from what I was taught in school. And I went to school in New Jersey, so you'd think I would have had the right information, but it was a very different process for our state than what we had learned about. And what's the best way for people to find you?
So I'm very active on Facebook. My philosophy is you go where the people are, and that's where a lot of my people are. So anybody's welcome to look me up on Facebook. Follow me there. If you want me to accept your friend request, it's best to shoot me a message so I know who you are. You're not some creepy weirdo. And then so Facebook is facebook.com. My handle is rachel.malone.tx. Same thing on Instagram if you want to follow me there. And then I'm on Twitter as Where Is Bullet. If folks are interested in following my GOA work, that website is going to be gunownerstx.org, and that's a special little Texas site that I set up, which then also leads to the full gunowners.org sites.
Okay, great. And anything else going on in Texas that everyone else should know about?
Yes, there is. So everybody's so focused on the elections, and everybody's so focused on the speaker race in Texas, which if you live in Texas, you'll probably know what I'm talking about if you're into politics at all. What happens after that is so crucial, and I need people showing up for it. If I've learned one thing in politics, it's I can't do it alone. And it shouldn't be the lobbyists like me that the legislators are listening to. It should be the people. So what I would ask more than anything else is show up in Austin at the Capitol during ledge session. If possible, show up to the hearing on constitutional carry and testify. And make your voice heard, because if you have an opinion, you're a Texan, you are qualified, you are the most qualified to make your own opinion known to the legislature.
Great. Well, I thank you so much for being on the show. Any parting words for our listeners?
Thank you so much for having this. It's a pleasure to talk with you, and I hope to talk with you again soon.
Great.
Thanks again for tuning in to the Out of Order Gun Rights Podcast. Show notes page for today's episode is outoforderjameskalita.com/104. If you head over to the show notes page, you'll find links to the pages Rachel mentioned, and also to giftforgunnuts.com, and you'll find a link for that Henry giveaway. So head over there, check those out. Out of Order James Kalita. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.